Welcome back to Founders and Jeans. I'm your host, Emily Jean. And before we get into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you so much for listening to my podcast. It means the world to me. It is a really special project to me. It's very close to my heart. And I just wanted to come on here and say thank you so much. I also wanted to say that if you enjoy the show, feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening to this, and also to follow us. You can follow us on Spotify, of course. You can follow us on Instagram at Founders and Jeans. You can also find me on Instagram at Emily.jeans, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect with people on there, and I have a lot of good conversations from listeners. Also, you can always leave a bad review for us. I'm totally fine with that. And in fact, I think that's exciting. I would love to know what we can do to improve. So you can also leave comments below and let me know what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy. I actually do read every single one. We also have a newsletter that comes out once a week, so you can get all the updates from us. We also put in some weekly business and marketing updates, as well as some personal notes from me. You can subscribe to that on my LinkedIn, also through the Instagram and in the show notes below. Anyways, that is all from me. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. I hope it's a good one, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye. Okay, well, Kiomi Barritt, welcome to Founders and Jeans. I'm so excited to chat with you today. For people who don't know you, why don't you give a little bit of a background about yourself?
Okay, thank you. So I'm Kiomi, also known as Kai. I am a mindset coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I used to be a fitness coach. I'm also an electrician. I work with entrepreneurs to overcome like limiting beliefs, mental blocks where they feel stuck, because it started when I first started in my own business. And yeah, I love traveling, hot country, sunshine, and I just love everything about what I do.
Yeah. I want to kind of go back to the beginning a little bit. How did you get into entrepreneurship? Like, what was the decision there?
So my dad had his own business, and growing up, I kind of deviated from what was like the societal norm. And I always knew that I didn't want to work for somebody else. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted my own business, but I never knew what I wanted to do. And so I moved away like quite young. And even when I moved back home, I went into a job where I wouldn't necessarily have my own business. And then I became a personal trainer, and that was essentially part of the reason was because like I was getting in shape. Like I'd gone through an eating disorder, I was getting in shape after. And instead of hiring a PT, I thought, oh, I'll just become a PT. I've always been into sport, always loved it. And I thought that was the route that I'd want to go down and take it online and build a business from there. So yeah, I think it all kind of like stemmed from not wanting to answer to anybody else.
Yeah, I love that. I do actually hear that personal trainer to entrepreneur is a fairly common pipeline.
hmm
And I guess that makes sense. But yeah, so interesting. So I guess then what led the decision to go into mindset coaching specifically out of everything?
I actually had no clue what mindset coaching was a couple of years ago, and I kind of stumbled into it. So I was working as a PT, I was building my brand, I had a successful business, and I suffered with these like limiting beliefs and thoughts. Like I had a massive fear of failure, but also like a massive fear of success. I feared judgment. I had these thoughts going around like, what if people laugh at me? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not good enough? And I didn't know like they were holding me back subconsciously. And I came across another mindset coach on Instagram, and her reel, I was just like, I watched this reel of hers and I was like, that's literally me. And I'm somebody who's like very spontaneous. So I signed up with her literally 2 days later, and I spent like the next 9 months with her, and it just completely changed my life. And that was when I had like the first kind of inkling that I wanted to go down the mindset route. And we had this one conversation together, and I can't remember what the conversation was about, but she said to me, she was like, is personal training something like you actually want to do? And I got really defensive, and I was like, yes, of course it is. Like, this is it. And as the year went on, it just had me thinking like more and more. And I was like, is it what I want to do? Like, is it fulfilling me in the same way it did when I first started this? And deep down, like gut feeling, I knew that the answer was no. But I didn't want to admit it to myself because I was so scared of making that change from like one successful business, leaving that and going straight into another. And it took me until like the beginning of this year to be like, no, do you know what? I'm actually going to do the qualification that I need in order to become that mindset coach. And I think because I saw how much it changed my life, and it's honestly like nothing I've ever done, seen, or heard before. It's just incredible, insane. And I think because it changed my life and my mindset so much in the way that I thought, that now I can help other people do that who were in the same position as me where they thought that. Because one thing that I've realized is it doesn't matter how successful you are in business, everybody has the same thoughts. They
Mm,
just come out in different ways.
right. Was there something specific why we're doing personal training that you said, okay, now is the time I want to make the shift?
No, so it wasn't personal training. It was I have a bowel disease, and in April of this year, I got admitted to hospital, and I was told that my disease had progressed so fast and so severely that they thought that they would have to take out my bowel and give me a stoma bag. And I think when your health is on the line through no fault of your own, it kind of like makes you take a step back and just think about like what do I enjoy doing? Like, am I really happy doing this? And I am not allowed to get stressed because if I get stressed, it helps induce a flare up. Don't want to flare up because then like I'll lose my bowel. And I think that was like the pivotal moment for me. I was like, life is so short. Like you don't know when life's going to change. And it sounds so cliche and everybody who's gone through something will say the same thing. But it's so true. When you go through something that is potentially going to change your whole entire life, nothing else really matters. And I was like, if I don't do this now, what if I die tomorrow? What if I die next week and I never do it? Or what if I make it to 80 and then I look back on my life and I just think, why did I not do that?
Yeah.
Why did I not go for it? Like what could have been? So that was the moment for me where it changed.
Yeah. I have in my outline, and I think, as you mentioned a second ago, that you are very spontaneous.
Hmm.
Um, I know that you quit school at 17 and then you moved to Egypt after a holiday. So,
Yes.
talk to me about that journey. What kind of drove that decision, and how has it shaped who you are now?
Okay. Nothing drove that decision. It's actually a really funny story. So I was 17 and it was my first girls' holiday. I went with my best friends and we got the last room in this hotel and we just wanted to go somewhere hot. Like Egypt wasn't even on the list. We just wanted to go somewhere hot. Got the last room in this hotel. We got there. We were only there for a week. Anyway, they took like they had an entertainment team in this hotel and they took guests out to nightclubs. So I went on a night out with one of my friends who I went over there with, and there was a girl from like the north of England working there. And I just said to her, how did you get a job over here? I was just interested in how she did it and how it came about. And her reply was, this other girl's leaving in 10 days. Why don't you come and work with us? And I was like, yes, let's do it. And then the next day, I called my mum and she's like crying on the phone and she's like, are you coming home first? And I was like, yeah, I'll come home first, mum. Absolutely like buzzing on life. And yeah, and then I flew back to the UK and I got home at 6 a.m. in the morning. By 9 a.m., I'd booked my flight back out over there for 10 days later. And I think I'd always known, like, as I said, I've never followed the norm and I didn't want to go to university. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was in my first year of A levels and I absolutely hated it. I'm somebody who, if I don't enjoy the subject, I'm not going to do any work for it. I'm not going to try for it.
Mm,
And yeah, and I didn't want to be there. So yeah, I just packed my bags and I moved over there and it was the best thing I ever did. I'm from a very small town in the UK and it's kind of a town where people grow up here, they get married, they buy a house, they have babies, and that's it. They stay in the same job forever. I've never wanted that. And I think from my first abroad holiday, I've always known that I'd move abroad, always. And it kind of like, I kind of manifested it from such a young age. And it just turned me into somebody so different to the person that I would have been had I stayed in my hometown. I was thrust so far out of my comfort zone. Like I was so scared from the minute I booked those flights back over there. I had all this bravado, like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. I would wake up like just in pure anxiety over this. I was 17, moving halfway across the world. No, I didn't know anybody over there. I'd met this girl like on holiday. And then I can remember following her around the pool on the first day where she's like talking to all the guests. And I'm just thinking, how does she know what to say? I don't even know what to say. And then day by day, like you just build confidence in it, you get better at it. I had to make myself silly. Like it was my job to make the guests' holiday like amazing. So suddenly you've got no embarrassment, you've got no shame, you've got like no nothing. And you realize like nobody else cares. And that's the most freeing thing. But also because I think I moved away at the most pivotal years of my life, like the years where people kind of like really grow up, really make their connections, make their friends. And I'd moved away at that. So I had just changed like the whole trajectory of my life without even realizing it. And I genuinely think that if I hadn't moved over there, I wouldn't be as confident. I wouldn't have started my own business. I wouldn't have gone out on my own. I wouldn't do half the things. And I wouldn't even have like the personality that I have now. I'm somebody who's like very headstrong. I'm still as spontaneous as I was back then, but I know what I want and I'm not afraid to go after it. And yeah, I think that's the best way I can describe it. I don't even know how else to describe the difference in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the best thing I ever did. Don't regret a second of it.
And how long did you live in Egypt for?
I was there for 8 years.
Wow, so a long time. And Egypt is not like a soft and puff too.
It's not like people think. So I was in a
Mhm,
tourist area.
mhm,
So I will always say, "Ah, it's not like real life."
mm,
So it's so built up on tourism that your job is in a hotel. Like, I was working like 6, 7 days a week and my job was in the hotel. Everything comes alive at night. But when you have a day off, you just sleep all day. But I met a guy over there, as you do, and he was actually Egyptian and his family lived in Cairo. And I went there and I love the people. I love the place. It's really not how the media portrays it because I was
mm,
over there during like a lot of the things that were going on and my mum would message me panicking and I would be like, honestly, got no idea what you're talking about. It's absolutely
yeah,
fine. But yeah, obviously you have to respect their culture and the differences. But yeah, it's not like Spain.
yeah. That's amazing. I really relate to that story. I moved to Rome when I was 18. And yeah, so I totally get that. I think I love that phrase, ignorance is bliss, because I'm like,
Mhm.
what I know now as an adult looking back, I'm like, I would never have done it, but it was so good.
I know. God, I think it's the best thing. Like, even if you just move away for a short while, it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah,
And Rome is such a beautiful place as well. That
yeah,
must have been. How long were you there?
2 years.
2 years. What did you do?
I was in getting my undergrad there. Yeah, so I was in uni. So you're still in a uni bubble. Like I was like very
Yeah,
safe. I wasn't really in Roman life. But yes, I relate to that feeling. I didn't commit to the 8 years though.
I didn't plan to commit to 8 years. But none of my friends believed I was going, and
Yeah.
then I was like, "Oh, I'll only be there 6 months," and
Yeah.
then just year after year passed, and yeah, and I still go back now for like 2 months at a time. I just love it so much, and they have the best food.
Yeah. I need to visit. Sounds amazing. You're selling me on it.
Do it.
Okay, so I want to go back a little bit to mindset coaching. Can you walk me through, I guess, like how does your background, both, moving to Egypt, living in Egypt, as well as being a personal trainer, and an electrician, we haven't even gotten into that.
Yeah,
How does that give you a different perspective on mindset coaching?
that's a good question. I think as a personal trainer, you kind of learn as you go. Like the longer you do it for, the more you get into it. Mindset is the crux of everything because you can want something and you can do something, but you can still sabotage on that thing even though you really want it. So it's kind of like learning how to work with the mind for that. I think Egypt taught me that you can do anything you set your mind to. My mum and dad used to say it to me all the time when I was growing up. And I think it's only when you really do something that you're like, I can do anything. Like, this is incredible. Like, this is something I dreamt about. And then being a Sparky, I think it's still such a male dominated job
Mhm.
that going in as a female, I've been very lucky in terms of like, I've never experienced any sexism or anything in the workplace. Everybody that I've worked with has been so friendly, so accommodating, and just so great. But I think there's still that level of like, you are being singled out, and it just teaches you a resilience that it just comes back to like that mental fitness again. And I think you can probably pair mindset coaching with any job or career. Like, there's going to be an element of it in there. But I think I like to think of it as like it's like come full circle, that everything's kind of like just stepped me nicely onto the next stepping stone to bring me to this place. And do you know what's really weird is I was having this conversation with my mum the other day. The A levels that I quit were psychology, business, photography, and law.
Mm,
And I've never done anything with the law, but like the photography's come in like where I create content, and then the psychology's
mhm.
come in with like the mindset coaching, and then the business is coming like where I've like built my own business. And I find it really wholesome.
Yeah, I love that. It's very full circle moment.
Yeah.
It sounds like your journey has been very you've done a lot of different things so far, and you're still finding, like, your purpose through that, which I think is very authentic and very real.
Hmm.
But for people when they're in that and they are struggling to land on something or they feel like they need to commit to something for, years at a time, 10, 15, 20 years or a career, do you have any advice for people in that? Because I know it can be such an anxiety provoking, like overwhelming thought that you need to commit to one thing for a long time.
Yeah. So I think I had to do like the inner work on this, because I think there's an unspoken timeline for people as well. At a certain age, you should have this. At a certain age, you should have that. And one of like the most comforting things to me is that the average successful entrepreneur isn't until like early 40s, mid 40s.
Mhm.
And I think it's just focusing on your timeline and nobody else's. There's no right or wrong way to do something. There's no right or wrong time to have something to start again. I will always live by my happiness is the most important thing. If I am not happy in a job, I can change it. Because if you go like worst case scenario, what is worst case scenario?
Mhm.
Like, you're not going to die. That's like worst case, worst case. But that's not going to happen if you decide to change your job or change your career. And a
Right.
lot of things you can do alongside it as well. Yeah, I think it's just like follow your heart. Don't worry about having so many different jobs. There was a quote, I've got to try and remember it now, or like a sentence somebody said about they were so lucky that they tried so many different things because it allowed them to see what they did enjoy doing, and it allowed them to find their purpose, as opposed to being like, right, I'm going to do this. And then you stay in that same job for years and years and years, even though you hate it, even though you're unhappy, and you never have a chance to find out what you truly enjoy doing. Because I could not think of anything worse, like to end up at the end of my life and be like, hated that job for the
Mhm.
entirety of my life.
Right. Right. Absolutely. That's a really good answer. Yeah, it's a scary image. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah.
It is, and do you know, so many people hold themselves back from going for it.
Yeah.
And I find it like the amount of times I've started over in my life, like I started over when I moved to Egypt. I started over when I moved back home. I then moved to a different area of the UK. I started over again then. I then moved back home again. I started over again then. I then changed jobs like 4 times. And like now I'm in my early 30s. And where I am now is a time where people think that you should be like settled down, stable job, stable income. And I'm like, nah, I'm just going to start again.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean, you consider now our life spans are so much longer than they used to be,
Yeah.
but we haven't really moved up that much in terms of where we're expected to be in life
Yeah.
in
Yes, that's so true.
perspective of that. So,
Oh, that's mental, isn't it, when you think about it? I didn't
mhm,
even think of that, yeah.
yeah, like our 30s are our new 10s. I don't like when you're
Okay, let's say teens. But, hey, honestly, I think that's what it is. Do you know how, like, when you were younger, people would say, "Oh, I still feel like I'm, 22, 24, whatever." And I've never had it until this year, and I was like, "Don't feel 34. Don't feel like it at all. I don't act like it. I don't feel like it. I literally
Mhm,
feel like I'm still in my early 20s." So I'm living my life as though I am in my early 20s,
mhm, mhm.
and it's the best way to
when you consider people were passing away not that long ago in the hundreds, they were passed about 100 years ago. People were still passing away in their 50s and their 60s. That was fairly common. So by the
Mhm.
time you reach your 20s, that's almost half your life. It makes sense that everybody was getting married and having babies. But the reality is now we mostly pass away in our 80s, or at least on average, depends where you live. So we're not halfway through our lives till we're 40, like, which
I've
is a
got
trick.
loads of time then.
We got
Loads of time.
lots of time, lots of time.
But that's just made my life even better. Yeah.
You're exactly where you need to be. That's the truth.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I want to ask for some more practical advice for listeners. Let's say somebody is interested in getting into the coaching business or mindset coaching, whatever it may be. Do you have something you're like, okay, I'm doing this and I think it is extremely helpful for the future of my business that I think everybody should start doing if they're interested in that?
I think connections. I don't think it matters what business you're in. I think there's that whole saying like your network is your net worth. And that's something that I didn't really take on board until later on. But I think that's the biggest thing. Like the rest of it, I'm such a firm believer in running a business. Like there's going to be some line of strategy, but you don't need to have like the most complex strategy out there because whether you succeed or not will always come down to your mindset and whether you fully believe that you can. So, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think personal branding, networking, a good basis to start for
yeah.
everybody, no matter what you're going
And I
into.
think those two things can carry you through. That's all you kind of really need. And then you figure out the rest of the stuff as you go. You don't
Yeah,
need perfection. You just need to start.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Mm.
I want to do some rapid fires with you, if that's
Mm.
okay, before
Yeah.
we wrap up. Okay, good. First question I have for you. What
Mhm.
is one mindset shift that has changed your life?
Your mindset creates your entire reality.
Mm,
Know that, you know that you have the power to choose any reality that you want.
mm,
That whole power's in your mind.
yeah.
Mm.
I want to ask, this is a little bit off topic of the rapid fires, but for you, what role does manifestation and mindset play? Like, do you think they are connected? Do you think they're kind of in the same field or do you think they are separate things?
I f no, it is all connected, but not how people think. You can't just be like, "Oh, I'm manifesting." Let's say, like, I'm manifesting a brand new car,
Mm,
okay? Manifestation is where, like, you want something, you speak it out, and what happens in your mind is when you're focusing on one thing, your brain doesn't care about the how. Okay, or like you don't care about the how in that second, your brain will start finding all the evidence to make it happen. So it's
mhm,
like I said, when I was 13, I went on my first abroad holiday with my family and I was like, I'm going to move abroad one day. I had no idea how it was going to happen at 13. And every time we went away after that, I was like, I could live here. I could live here. And I hated having to go back to the UK. And then the opportunity presented itself when I was 17, 4 years later, and I took it.
mhm,
Okay. So I'd essentially spoken that into existence. But what had happened was I knew that I wanted it so bad. So that my brain was just on the lookout for an opportunity. So when it hit me, it was there. And that's kind of like what happens because there's going to be opportunities, there's going to be things around you for it to happen. And it's like if you want to find the best pair of shoes or the nicest pair of shoes, suddenly your brain's like, right, I need to look for those shoes. So subconsciously, like you're not even going to know you're doing it. It's like looking for them and it's
mhm,
almost like if you start thinking about buying a yellow car, suddenly you're going to see yellow cars everywhere. And I think it ties in with visualization. So you can visualize your future and you can visualize exactly how you want it to be. And what will happen in your brain is your brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So it will start building pathways in your brain as though that future's already happened.
mm,
So the stronger those pathways get, it then becomes like the norm to your brain. So then you start embodying that person, you start acting like them, and then suddenly you have it
mhm.
because subconsciously you've done the work and then it's kind of like come into play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that because when I hear mindset for me, I instantly begin to think of manifestation.
Mm.
So yeah, but I'm always curious about how people approach that kind of balance, I guess.
Yeah. So I was the same. I used to think manifestation and I used to think manifestation was like all woo woo and it wasn't for me. And then
Mhm.
when I learned the science behind it, and I was like, that actually makes so much sense. But yeah, no, it's so cool how it works.
Yeah. Okay. Second question. What do you think is the most underrated habit for resilience?
Visualization.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
on answers here.
I know. It just flows so nicely.
What do you think is the biggest myth about success?
That you have to, like, hustle culture. You don't have to work 24 hours a day in order to be
Mhm.
successful. You can
Mhm.
build success whilst enjoying your life, whilst having freedom. It just depends, like, what success means to you as well, I guess.
Completely agree. Well, then going off the back of that question, what do you think success feels like to you?
Freedom and happiness.
Yeah, I love that. For me, it's lots of money.
Money as well, yeah. I think my goal has always been and will always be time, money, and location freedom.
Mhm, mhm.
That's it.
I love that. So clear.
Mm.
Last question for you. Do you have a book or a resource or a course or anything like that that you can recommend to budding entrepreneurs?
Book, a resource, or a course. Books are my forte. I
Mhm,
read and I listen to a lot of books. I'm just looking at my books now to see which one. Oh, there's so many. I think the one I'm reading again at the moment is like The Magic of Thinking Big.
mhm.
That's a
Okay.
good one. That's such a hard question to answer because I think you can listen to all the podcasts, read all the books, do all the courses, but it all comes down to mindset. So I think if you are really wanting to build a successful business, make sure that your mind is in the right place for it. And I think the books as well, or the resources of the courses for any entrepreneur will depend on what industry they're going
Mhm,
into as well. But like I've got favorites like Atomic Habits. There's a really good one by a lady called, I think it's Nicole Vignola, and it's like Rewire. That's a
mhm,
really good one. That's all about the mind and how you do it. So like, it's really weird because I'm thinking about all the books that I've read, and a lot of them are to do with the mind. And this was
mhm.
like they were all bought before I even went into it. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered that question very well, but I hope I
No,
have.
no, I think that's perfect. That's perfect.
Mm.
Well, then, Kayomi, thank you so much for joining me. I want to know, where can people follow you? Where can they find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn as Kiomi Barritt, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok as Kiomi Jade with a little underline or
Okay.
underscore, I think it's called. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Thank you
And that,
so much for having me.
of course, of course, of course. That'll all be linked in the show notes as well. But thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.